Welcome back, everybody, to the fourth episode of the Wild Faith podcast. My name is Evan Bungham. I have my co-host Luke Timmons with me today. Luke, how are you doing?
We're doing good. It's crazy. Right before we started at episode 4 already, so we're just flying now.
We're flying, and
yeah,
it's been fun to know that we have, we're kind of getting a little ahead of schedule now, which is good. So we got some extras already recorded, and we can start brainstorming some new ones. But every week, we'll have a podcast for you guys every Monday, 8 a.m.
Yes, sir. Start your work week off on the right foot, right?
That's right.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's crazy. It's sunny and here in South Minnesota, and boy, it's coming. Hunting season's coming quick. It's
coming.
Yeah, I shoot my bow yet.
Fishing's coming.
Fishing's coming. I mean, it's all coming. It's a trout opener, and then it's turkey opener, and then we have, fishing opener, in mid-May. So,
yep.
Yeah, it's going to be summer before we know it. And then it's always hard to say, but it'll be fall before we know it too. Cause it just, once summer hits, it just goes.
It goes too fast. Well, like we were just saying the last podcast about like ice out, which is funny because ice is out almost everywhere besides.
Oh, yeah.
Lake of the Woods right now.
It's crazy.
But you were saying, so have you already been shooting your bow?
Yeah, I was shooting. I mean, I try to not, fall into the majority.
You're pretty
I guess.
Consistent.
Yeah, I try to. It's I've definitely with kids it gets a little bit harder, but it's just not necessarily getting out to the sportsman's clubs range as much, but just going and buying a cheap little target to throw in the backyard and get those, quick little 15-minute shooting sessions off the back deck, and just to kind of stay honed in and keep that those wheels greased. So, but yeah, I've been and it's kind of cool because it's like once you kind of have your setup, your bow setup anyways, you're like, yeah, I'm good. I won't need to adjust anything. But like with anybody that bow hunts that knows, that's the biggest lie you can always. You're always tinkering with something or figuring out ways, is changing fletches or broadheads or whatever. So it's figuring out what that next deadly turkey setup will be for a month for the month away now.
Yeah, I'm definitely. I need to get better at it. I've been. I just feel like I've been flying by the edge of my seat here the last couple of weeks, but I don't know. I always go back and forth with turkey season, like of what challenge do I want it. So like I think it was 2 years ago I restored a original what is it? It's a Remington model 16 gauge 37A, something like that. So it's like it was made in like 1958. So I did some work done on it, and I just kind of converted it. It was actually a turkey gun. It had a modified full choke in it, or not a modified. It had a full choke in it, so it was set up already for But the hard thing is, it was 16 gauge. They don't make turkey. It's all custom shells. So I got custom shells for it. I shot a turkey, that spring with it, which was fun. And then I've always dinked around with my trad bow, which is, I couldn't tell you how many turkeys I've had opportunities to kill that I didn't kill because I was using a trad bow. But now that I finally have kind of got proficient with it, I don't know what I'm going to do. If I'm going to use that this spring or if I'm going to use my compound. But my compound's kind of in shambles right now because I need new strings and new arrows. So that's and we're already less than a month out. So it's like, well, I'm just going to start shooting my recurve, and that's what I'm going with.
There you go. Yeah, it was fun thinking back last turkey season. We went out kind of to our turkey honey hole, and we got, I wouldn't say a late setup, but we got set up a little bit later, had this base. I mean, it was, we've told the story about bringing our 2 kids out, but I think we went out that next morning, and it went from super windy and rainy when we went out with our kids. And then the next morning it was no wind, nothing, just dead quiet. So it was like, you get 100 yards from the woods, and it's like ghost recon time where you gotta sneak your way in because those turkeys ended up being roosted like, I don't know, 30 yards from our spot. So
I can't break that morning down again. I can't remember how it kind of went down.
Yeah, so I mean, we got a little bit of a later start, and we got to the edge of the woods, started getting the blinds set up, you got the decoys set up out in the field, and yeah, we just kind of we knew they were about where they usually are roosting. We weren't exactly
Yeah.
sure what tree, I guess, but yeah, it ended up being you were hitting a couple calls to simulate a bird on the roost, but they were very close. Like I said, for sure
Yeah.
less than 50 yards away from where we were set up their tree,
Too
and
close.
too close, too close. Yeah, but ended up working out. So I mean, it was cool because they came down off the roost, and you literally hear them flying off the roost,
Yeah.
their wings flapping. So you knew they were right in there. And then, yeah, they were coming from behind us, because we were kind of facing the field in our blind, and you could hear the toms just drumming away. So that's
Yep.
that's when they're real close, when you
Oh
can hear
yeah.
them drumming.
Oh,
Because
I remember that now. Did they walk? We had those. I want to say it was either two Jakes or it was those two Toms that I want to say they came what like 2 or 3 feet to the
oh,
just from to the
they were
backside
like,
of our blind.
and that's what was tough. We if it
Yeah.
wasn't because those toms came in from our south side, and those jakes were on, or no, west side, and then
Yeah.
the jakes came down from the hill from the east, and they were, yeah, three jakes for a couple yards from our blind, so they're just staring right at us. And then the toms
Yeah.
finally came out, and we were trying to. I was holding back, and then waiting for you to be able to get a shot, and finally you're like, just shoot, and
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
because there was like
Yep.
they were about ready to, they were getting squirrely, and the jakes were onto us, and so they
I'm
all.
pretty sure I had my recurve, didn't I?
You did, yep. So that's what made
Yeah.
it a little bit harder too. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, they were. I don't know. They spooked, and I just picked the one tom all by himself, and I hit him straight up the tailpipe,
Well, he
and
went. I think he went like 7 yards.
yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
So it was cool. It was a great morning, and then I think you and I even went out that next morning too,
Yeah.
and again sat up. This time we just kind of said to heck with the blind, and then you went out and couldn't quite get it done that morning, but then that afternoon you got her done.
That's right. Yeah, me and
So
Zach went out, and that was my first. I think that was my first official uh, recurve or trad bow turkey. So that was pretty sweet.
yeah, that's awesome.
But well, I think that was. I can't remember if that was the same season or not. I'll have to play the footage. But I had one of the coolest encounters I've ever had turkey hunting was I was out by myself. I was out on a farm up here in northern Minnesota, and I I set my goal pretty high. I wanted to film my turkey hunt with my recurve with no blind and get it all on camera. So I had like two different GoPros running. I had my main camera running. I had, my recurve. I had like a little makeshift ground blind I kind of made, and I had two toms come within. I want to say it was about like 6 steps. And if it would have been one tom, it would have been perfect. But that's why I think I love turkey hunting so much, is because you never know if it's early season, if the birds are going to be responsive, if they're going to be grouped up. Like there's all these different elements that come into turkey hunting, to where that's where I think I'd fall in love with elk hunting. But like there's so many different elements that happen where, you just never know what's going to happen. It's not always super easy. And that hunt though, I got these birds within about, I was on top of this backside of this hill, so they couldn't see me or my decoy set up until they got right up on me, and they were like 6 steps, and like you can play it in slow motion. And I was shooting these big decap broadheads, and I want to say I missed that turkey's neck by, it had to have been like a quarter of an inch. And but that was one of the cooler setups I've ever had for self-filming with the recurve. But I was going to challenge us this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think we ditched. That's where it gets really hard when you're filming turkey hunts. Like it pays dividends to have a blind and have all the extra room and stuff. But like I challenge us this year to both film a double with no blind.
Ooh.
With our bows.
Let's do it.
I think we can do it.
I think we can do it. Let's do it. I'm in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's always kind of fun with hunting. Is kind of once you've done one thing, it's like, okay, how do I take that next step and hone my craft and take up that next challenge?
Yeah,
for sure.
And that's what I think I like about turkey hunting. You can always kind of scale it up to make it a little bit harder, but it's funny the moments that you try to do that, and then it becomes impossible to kill them.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah, turkeys are funny because it's like sometimes you watch them just out in the field, and they just look just dumb, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like once if you're in the deer stand, right, you're like, oh, here comes a flock of a bunch of dumb turkeys, and then all of a sudden you're turkey hunting, and this probably goes with any season, but then it's like they flip a switch and they're
Just
impossible.
locked in.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I don't know. For turkeys, for me, it's either they're the dumbest birds in the world and they're super easy to kill, or
Hmm.
they are incredibly hard to kill.
Yeah.
It just kind of depends on the flow of what the season is and what time frame. And like this year, like I don't know what's going to be like this year because it's been literally spring for 3 months.
Yeah.
So like I don't know if the birds are going to nest early, if they're going to, because I mean we've been used to it for the last couple of years where we've been hunting turkeys the first 2 weeks in the snow.
Yeah, right. Yep, exactly. So it'll be. I think me thinking I know anything really much about turkey hunting, but I think it'll be definitely key to get in on them early.
Yeah, I think early season is probably going to be the best bet, but I do thoroughly enjoy late season turkey hunting though, just from the fact of like birds are broke up, those last toms it's just like hunting the rut kind of, they're on their last ditch effort to find a hen,
Right.
and a lot of times you can kill a lot of those really really old birds. But no, I'm excited. Like we have turkey hunts coming up, so we'll have a couple turkey podcasts coming out where we'll just slowly talk about turkey hunting. But
for sure, definitely.
yeah, well, we can just dive into this week's episode.
Yeah, let's do it. Yep, let's break.
So we have a really exciting guest. We have my wife on the podcast, and this is a 2-part series where we're going to be just kind of going over just communication and relationships and just that introduction to the outdoors. And I feel like my wife has a great story, and so does Jenna. And Luke's going to be interviewing my wife and I, and I'll be interviewing Luke and Jenna in the second series of the podcast.
All right, welcome back to a special 2-part episode of the Wild Faith podcast. Today we are diving in deep to the heart of family connections that are forged through hunting adventures. So in this episode, we will be joined by Autumn, who is actually Evan's wife. We will explore the profound impact that can be found while hunting, building stronger family bonds. And so get ready for some insightful insight filled with some personal stories, heartfelt reflections, and I'm sure a couple funny stories in there too. Just on the power of, the outdoors and shared hunting experience. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our co-hosts of the day, Autumn and Evan Bungham. How are you guys doing?
Doing good. How are you, Luke?
Doing good. It's almost 70 degrees here, and it's early March in Minnesota, so we are blessed.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's awesome. Can't complain.
It's spring cleaning time.
Yes, I actually have the top, so my shed's 2-tiered. I'm up on the second level, which is my little studio, I guess. But I actually got the big kind of barn door open up here to be able to let some fresh air. I had some resident squirrels take up residency in the walls of my shed, so they are gone from what all I can tell, and there's no nest. So I'm working on sealing up the little hole that they decided to make in my shed, but it's all good. So
oh boy,
yeah.
Well, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So, no, we're it's crazy that it's been as nice as it has been. I feel like we've talked about it in every podcast now, but it just progressively keeps getting warmer and warmer and warmer.
Yeah. Yep. We'll take it. Definitely, we'll take it. But Autumn, let's. I want to hear from you. I want. Evan likes to do the talking, so let's.
This isn't about me.
Yeah, this is about family bonds. So give us just a little bit of backstory, kind of, just a quick, I guess, kind of intro into you guys on how you guys kind of met and.
Yeah, so Evan and I met actually on Bumble.
Oh, there you go.
It was internet dating app.
Good app.
I feel like it's becoming more popular now. It's like back when we first would say how we met, we almost were like, we need to come up with a different story because it's embarrassing. But it's not embarrassing anymore. No. We've been together for almost 8 years and married for almost 5. Yeah, we met when I was living in the cities and you were down in Roch living with you, Luke. So
yeah,
I've known you guys for quite a while now.
I think we had a moment yesterday sitting in the car of have we really been together for that long? We were questioning how long we've been married, and she thought I was wrong, of course. And it's 5 years this fall, so it's been a blessing.
Yeah, it's crazy how quick time has gone, and just to think back on when we were living in Rochester and how the times have changed.
Absolutely.
Crazy times. I mean, like last night, I was looking for more cover photos for just different podcasts we have coming up and stuff like that. And, for me, I always go down the rabbit hole looking at more and more photos and just looking at photos from when we were 7-8 years ago. It's wild.
We were skinny.
Still skinny.
I was skinny.
Oh, definitely. So Autumn, we spoke with your dad actually in our last episode and kind of about, building those family bonds through camping. So kind of along the same, lines of this podcast, but, take us back, because, Evan and I, obviously we know your family and everything, but, growing up with a family, who did hunt, fish, camp and all that, how did that have an impact on, you guys?
Well, I mean, going back when I was little, it was the guys' thing to go out and do all the fun stuff outside, right? So it was my brothers and my dad, and they would meet up with my uncle and their boy cousins and my grandpa. They'd go to the shack. They'd do the fun things, and I didn't really, it wasn't a question. I wasn't ever really a part of it, and then. One day I was like, you know what? I'm not getting a sister anytime soon. So I gotta figure out how to make these brothers like me a little bit more. So I was like, hey Dad, I want to go to the shack. I want to see what this is all about. And luckily for me, he was all for it. He asked my grandpa, because times back then, especially, it was a guys camp. It was no girls were allowed out at the shack. Things happened there, and things were said that no woman should have been party to, I guess. But yeah, I was welcomed with open arms, and I kind of got to experience the great outdoors. We always went camping and we would go fishing and things like that when I was younger, but then. Once I got to those early teenage years and got to really be immersed in the hunting world, it kind of changed everything. I wasn't always, I wasn't there for the hunting necessarily either. It was fun to do, but it really was just being out there and getting Dad and my brothers and my uncles and my grandpa and getting to know them on a different level. So.
No, that's awesome. I mean, the shack in of it itself is such a cool, thing to have for a family, I think, because it kind of has that spot for you guys to kind of get away and like you said, kind of be one with nature and kind of be able to embrace it together. So, I mean, that, that's such a cool camping. I'm on the old podcast still. Hunting. I mean, it's both, but right. But it's such a cool tradition. So, I mean, like, what sort of significance does that have? Not only for your family and your brothers and your dad and grandpa and cousins and stuff, but now with a daughter, what sort of things can you see or have already seen, I guess, with her going out with Evan and you with some of the stuff that you guys have done?
Yeah, well, I always, finding a partner, I knew I wanted them to love the outdoors because I wanted my kids to have that instilled in them, and not that they have to hunt, not that they, whatever they want to be a part of, but just being outside and being a part of that. So, Evan goes on his own hunting trips often. That it's his time away to regroup and connect on different levels with himself and with his faith, and but the way that he includes our 2.5-year-old little girl is awesome, because he's not afraid to bring her out fully immerse. I mean, Luke, you guys brought your young ones on a turkey hunt. I'm pretty sure you guys talked about that in one of your podcasts.
Yeah.
But just being out there and Evan tries to include me as much as possible as well.
Well, I think we're just kind of getting started, really, with Nora. I mean, how should I say it? Like when we we didn't take her up to the cabin this last year. We thought she was too young. Just with it's a 55-minute boat ride, 45-minute boat ride to get back there. Logistically, how is she going to do staying there? Our daughter's a fish, so she loves to swim. So it's, that's terrifying. It's like, all right, we got to keep her away from water. But it's amazing, from 2.5 to, she'll be 3 here at the end of the summer. I mean, she's grown up so much now to where, like, I'm super excited to take her turkey hunting because she's all about turkeys and she loves turkeys. And then super excited to take her fishing. We finally just got a family boat this year. Thank you. Shout out to Brad Height for hooking us up with that. And we are going to use the heck out of it. So, but, I think we're just finally getting to that opportunity where she's getting old enough that we can, as a family now, start to really just enjoy multiple different aspects of being in the outdoors.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's fun.
No, it is. It's cool. And I mean, just kind of even referring back to that turkey hunt that we took Nora and Liam on. I mean, it was, we talked.
Wild morning. It
was a wild morning. We were, we were getting ready in the trucks, and the kids were still in their car seats, and we were like, God, it looks like it rained, but not much.
It's raining.
And it's like you wouldn't even second guess it if it was just the two of you. But then when you start to bring your kids in, like I know Autumn, your dad really talked about it too. Is just that sense of safety, and as far as you're obviously the care provider, but you're solely in charge of being sure that they're okay. But I think the coolest part for me was just watching those two. Their eyes just light up, right, when those turkeys came in, and they were just like, their eyes went from little to just like saucer size, like, oh my gosh, there's birds coming in.
Well, it makes you like, in those moments. I mean, obviously we didn't. It would have been a way cool story if we would have shot one, but it was almost even a cooler story that we didn't shoot one.
Yeah,
we got to enjoy that experience with them. We stuck it out. We did it. We could have sat in the truck or went home. And it's a memory that we'll never forget.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, a verse that's always really stuck out in my head with this is the Proverbs 22:6 is it says, start children off on the way they should go, and even when they are old, they will not turn from it.
Good one.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just, it goes to show, like, when you immerse your kids in your hobbies too, and Autumn, you really touched on it too. It's not that they have to hunt or fish or camp or whatever, but just getting them outside in some sort of way, even if it's like today, it's 70 degrees and, they've been outside all morning. Now they're napping and it's like perfect. It's just, they could be outside and enjoy it. But, with the next part, we kind of touched on, those shared experiences and memories. And one that I really want you guys to talk about is, I can't even remember. Was it 6-ish years ago?
I think I know what you're talking about. I want to say it was 6 or 7.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So go into it if you know what I'm talking about.
So this is and I'll let Autumn go with the story, but I'll just kind of give an introduction with it. So this was Autumn has a really rich history of, up at the shack of having gun opener up there for the first weekend. And, obviously for us here in southeastern Minnesota, we can't rifle hunt. I still have yet to rifle hunt up north, but we have slug hunting. That's all you have. So like for us, it was just like any other gun hunter in Minnesota. It's like the Super Bowl of the deer hunting season. Everyone gets together. Everyone has their deer camp. And, we've always had a tradition of having, family over for the gun opener. And, that morning we went out, or no, was it morning or evening?
I don't think he's going to let me tell the story.
No, I'm going to let you tell it. But anyways, we shot, I won't even say it. Autumn, she knows what I'm talking about. You go ahead and tell the story.
Keep going. All right. Back to the main event here. Yeah. So starting out, like Evan said, the deer shack, or I guess deer camp you guys would call it, when everyone would get together at the Bunghams, and no girls once again ever went out. Lack of interest.
You could have came out.
I know, but nobody just really wanted to.
No one said no.
But I wanted to go one year, and Evan pushed me a little bit too because, and luckily your dad, David was all for it. He's like, yeah, we're welcome to come. So we were in the deer shack, and this was a little bit different than what I was used to. I was used to like always being real cold, not like a sheltered.
Describe
stand.
kind of your experience too, like what it was like hunting up at the shack before you go into what it was like hunting down there.
Well, I mean, not only was it a drive from home 3.5 hours north to our shack.
To Ray, right?
To Ray, yeah. It was also it was a hike out to your stand early in the morning, and the stand was usually handmade by one of the past brothers or whoever else was out there, and they it was a little sketchy getting up in there, and you sat down and you didn't know for sure if it was gonna hold tight or you couldn't move too much. There was just a little bar around where you could set your gun up, but otherwise, I mean, if you tilted too much, you were falling out of that sand. Yeah. And so I never sat, but I actually always sat with my dad or one of my brothers.
Did you guys see a lot of deer?
By the time I started going up there, I truly have never once seen a deer out of the stand at the shack, which is so sad to say. But maybe it was because I slept for half the time. I don't know. But
I will say though, up there though, they have killed some really, really. Your grandpa killed a giant.
Yes, and so it's not to say there aren't. It's
few and far between. I mean, that's what I was going to say. Like the correlation between hunting in that area in northern Minnesota to coming back to our family farm where there's just deer everywhere.
Yeah, it just wasn't the case. So tying it back, let's get back on track here. So I'm turning into Evan. So we're down at deer camp at Evan's family farm, and we go into the deer shack. And first of all, I'm already seeing a bunch of deer, and I'm like, what is this world? What's happening? This is odd for me. But we saw a few does, and maybe a couple small bucks or something come through. And Evan just kept saying, "Nope, just wait. You're gonna see something bigger." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure I am." But out walks a 10-pointer, and it starts coming. And I had never shot a buck at that point. I was. I
don't think you've ever shot a shotgun at that point.
Well, I had shot a shotgun.
Well, not like a not slug.
I think I might have practiced before I went out there. Come on, give me a little bit of credit.
She had the same gun that I killed my first ever deer with, which was a single shot 16 gauge with just a front pin sight, nothing special whatsoever. Mm-hmm. Then you can keep going.
Yeah.
That adds to a little bit of the story.
So anyways, it comes out, and I don't know how far it was away. I mean, I'm bad
75
at that.
yards.
And so, he's like, all right, this is on you. You go ahead. And so I took the shot, and down he went.
I was in I will say I was in disbelief because not that you couldn't, because she's a great shot, because even with her bow and everything, she's a great shot. But I've never shot that gun past probably 50 yards with a slug before. And then for her to come out on her first time and just absolutely 10-ring this deer. I mean, he ran 5 yards and died.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool feeling, but I was also kind of like, I like sitting in the deer stand, but I was also like, all right, we're done. Like, okay, we're going to go down and we're going to do all the things, clean it, gut it, and bring it back. And no, that's not what happened, because Evan says, let's just wait a little bit longer. And I'm like, I don't know if it was just that you were jealous that I shot a big buck and you wanted to, wanted to make sure, I don't know what was happening. But he convinced me, let's just wait a little longer. So what was it, 10 minutes later?
No, we went down and looked at your deer and then said, I remember that we went down.
And then you told me we had to get back.
We had to get back in the stand.
Yes. Yeah. So about 10 minutes later, out walks a big 9-pointer.
Yep.
Still smaller than mine, but.
Okay. Yeah.
So Evan takes the shot and down he goes. And, we go down there and they fell
They were within 15 yards of each other.
Yeah.
It was wild. And it was one of those moments for me where I was completely regretting that I didn't bring my bow at that time, because my deer was like, he was like 10 yards away. He was like literally underneath the shack. But I was in complete utter belief, because I've never doubled up in my life with 2 bucks with 2 people ever.
Yeah.
I've never seen it. I've never, we've had days out in the farm where we've shot in 4 or 5 bucks, but we're all spread out collectively, not sitting in the same stand within 15 minutes of each other, where it's like, okay.
Yeah. Well, and then we came in and Luke, you had shot a big one too.
Yeah. Was that next morning?
No.
The next morning.
Oh, the next morning.
Next morning. Out of the same stand.
Same. Yeah. So it was funny, because I was sitting down by the church stand that night when you guys shot those 2, heard you shoot Autumn. And then I was like, was that you? Texted, I was like, was that you guys? And then Evan's like, yep, shot a buck. I'm like, awesome. And so I was like, all right, I'll just, stay out till dark and then go help them. And then all of a sudden, like, not even 15 minutes later, boom. I'm like, no way. And yep, 2 bucks down. And then, we got them all cleaned up, brought them back. And, we had a good old time back at the house and the shed and stuff, because 2 bucks out of the same stand is just crazy. Next morning, I went out. It was kind of rainy. I'm like, I'm not sitting in a tree stand. I'm tired, and so I went and sat at the shack. And lo and behold, shot a nice 8-point buck the next morning. So it was just wild. What a cool story.
I think I remember you too. That deer was, how far did you shoot? You had, I want to say you just got that new Sabbath barrel for your shotgun.
I was still just shooting my old 20 gauge Remington.
Oh, you were?
Yep.
Oh,
so
God.
Open
Great.
sights. Yeah. And probably about the same, like 80, 90 yards. And then he came back in, and then, tracked him to the next woods over and went in and got him.
No, I tell you what, that was, for my dad, that, it's one of my favorite photos that probably I bet we've ever taken out there. And it's probably one of my dad's favorite moments that we've had out there for just the gun season in general, because we've never pulled out 3 mounters in a time span of less than 24 hours. And my dad was just in such disbelief that it happened. We have this old rickety swing set that we still use as a deer hang, and we've got all, we can overlay the image, but we got all 3 bucks hanging up on the, I think actually, did my dad or Eric shoot a doe too? I want to say we had 4 deer.
I think Eric did.
Yeah, one of them definitely shot a doe. Yeah, it was,
because I want to say we all were in an assembly line that night till like 4 in the morning, butchering deer.
Yeah. Yep.
I was in bed.
Yeah.
I mean, you helped out though.
I helped a little bit, probably.
Yeah. But that's like one of my fondest memories though. That hunt was like just a blessing that it even happened the way it did. For us, Autumn was just kind of getting into hunting at that time, and actually like hunt, like getting into it.
Well, I was getting more into it, because once I went to college and I didn't go out. I would go to the shack for grouse hunting and things like that. But it wasn't until I met you, and you were an avid hunter.
I was kind of pushing it, I guess.
You did, but I mean, it was good. Your mom, my mother-in-law, and your sisters were like, who is this girl that Evan brought home that's actually going out hunting with him? And they're like, oh boy, I think they were a little weirded out by me at first, and then I started just letting you go out and staying in, and they're like, oh, she's normal.
No, it's
enough.
I'm blessed to have you, and the fact that you love the outdoors. And I'm not going to steal a spotlight from you here quick, but I want to tell one story, because I don't know if she's going to tell it or not. But Autumn's turkey, actually, you know what? You tell the story.
Oh, I think you'll tell that better.
Okay. All right. So that same spring though, that's why like that year in general was just one of the craziest years I've ever had. Cause I think turkey hunting that year, I think we went out and like shot 5 or 6 birds with like just friends and family, just calling and stuff. But my favorite one was Autumn's hunt. This was her first turkey. Same thing out in the family farm. Went out the first morning and I called a bird in, I think it had been like 20 or 25 or 30 yards, but she just couldn't get a shot and pivot around the tree. So we come down on the weekends and stuff like that. And, for us, it worked out where we could stay down until Sunday, but the weather on Sunday was really, really bad because it was super windy. And if anybody knows, turkeys in the wind is kind of a challenge. You got to get it really tight and personal, but this was just an oddball day. And our farm's a little bit different too, where, we have a lot of older birds. So it's really dominant birds. And we sat up on a fence line, heard this bird at like 3 PM, hit a box call. He must have been 450 yards away. And, this is at the time too, we were filming everything. So Autumn's behind the camera.
But he somehow lost the footage of this.
I don't know what happened to it. It eeks me to this day because it's some of the coolest turkey footage that I've ever had, because this bird, literally, I hit like 2 cuts on a box call. He hit off one time at about like 450 yards, so way across the field. This bird made it to us in about a minute.
That thing was
running. I mean, I would have thought he was flying. He was coming so fast.
I think I shot it because I was terrified.
No, she shot this turkey. I want to say it was about 4 steps from the blind, and it was still moving towards the blind. So I had a full strutter DSD tom out, and then just their bedded hen that they had too. And this bird, I'd probably set him too close because I set him up for like archery hunting, but I can't remember if I brought my bow too, if we were trying to, I can't remember. But anyways, she shot this turkey at like 4 steps. It was wild. And I think you shot it with the 16 gauge again too. So that was kind of a cool experience, but that was Autumn's first turkey. And that was like one of my favorite memories because we were convinced that after that first morning, we weren't going to kill a bird. And then like, we have like an hour to go out and hunt. Let's just try it. And I think we sat down for 25 minutes and you shot your bird and we were done.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably one of my second favorite like memories ever. Good job.
Thank you. Wish I could watch the video footage back.
Right. Still have the photo.
Yeah. Well, hey, turkey season's a month away, so you can just make some new videos.
I keep telling you, just get a tag.
There you go. So I think the next piece is it kind of goes without saying, but I think a very key piece with any family or especially marriage too. But I mean is just that communication and connection within the outdoors, hunting, whether it's hunting, fishing, camping, whatever. But just kind of talk a little bit how making sure that fostering that kind of open communication, kind of teamwork and between each other kind of plays into, being able to share all this with each other.
I think this is a really interesting question because this is a 2-way street. And I don't think I've ever heard on a podcast before of hearing a wife's perspective and the husband's perspective of this. So Autumn, you can run with it first.
Pressure's on. No, we've been together for 8 years and we're still working on it. Mm-hmm. And when I say working on it, I mean that as a wife, there's a lot of give and take when you marry a hunter. Especially one that that enjoys the trips and not just the local hunting. You go out to South Dakota and you would go everywhere if we had the funds to do so. Let's be honest. So I think before we had a little one, it wasn't a big deal. I mean, he would take off for a week, and as long as it fit in our budget and our schedule, it wasn't a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Now once we had a little one, there's some conversations that we have to have because and I appreciate the way that we can communicate about it now because, I mean, I grew up, I know how important the outdoors is just to kind of your well-being, being outside, so he knows that I want to be a part of a lot of that. I don't necessarily want to go on a hunt to South Dakota, so that's a little different, but as long as we make time to do that stuff outside of just the hunting realm and going camping for a weekend as a family but I've also you got to find the why of like why does your husband want to do the things that they do? So Evan wants to hunt and be out there. And for a while it was like, I don't see why you want to spend so much of your extra time out in the woods away from your family and hunting this stuff. You want to bring food, put food on the table. Like, I get it to an extent, but we can afford to,
Yeah.
So I think especially after Evan's dad passed away, he was able to maybe articulate it a little bit better as to like why being out in the outdoors is so important to him. It's a way that he is able to connect with his faith, a way that he connects with his dad, a way that he kind of like rejuvenates his soul and is able to come back a better father and husband and all of the things. And so those are things that I have to think about when he books a long hunting trip, and I'm like, okay, remember his why. Remember his why. And as long as you have that open conversation with each other, if it gets to be too much, if there's too many hunting trips on the calendar, I can sit down with him and he's not gonna get mad at me for, well, sometimes. It used to be,
My favorite line though is, "What time will you be home?"
Yeah.
It's probably my favorite one-liner.
Well, okay. The thing about hunting, as all of you listening know, it's not a hobby that you go out for an hour or two and you're done. It's not like, it is an all-day affair, and not just a one-season all-day affair. It is, he's constantly on his phone looking at what he can do with his food plots and planting and all this, listening to all of these podcasts and all of these shows and all these YouTube videos. I don't understand the amount of time that you put into, and I don't need to understand it because it's not my forte, but like, kudos to you guys that you
I really appreciate that, Autumn, that you said that very, very nicely.
I will have to side on Autumn on one piece though. When it comes to the what time will you be home with Evan, you always got to add like plus or minus 30 minutes to an hour and a half.
True.
It's like, hey, when do you want to get on a call and figure the next episode out? It's like 20 minutes, 30 minutes afterwards. He's like, all right, just give me 10 more minutes.
It always is. He just told me today, he's like, I'll be home, this week if I go filming, I'll be home at like noon or 1, so you'll only, have to watch Nora for 3 hours during the morning, whatever the case was. And I'm like, 8 plus, that doesn't add up to 3 hours. It's like 5. It's always, you gotta just do the math yourself to double check.
So
for sure.
I will say though, from my side of things, I couldn't agree more with, like, as we've matured in our relationship and obviously our daughter getting older now and stuff, like, when we were just not, not married yet, it was kind of just ran by the edge of my seat. It was like, all right, we're going to go to Missouri. Sounds good. Let's go. If we were just, whatever trip it was like, yep, count me in. Don't have to think about it. And, as time's gone on now, that challenged myself a little bit because I kind of almost, got a little defensive probably at times where it's like, well, why can't I go do this? And then, as the older you get and the more responsibilities you have to make sacrifices. And obviously, like now that, with Nora, it's going to be 3 here pretty soon. There's a lot of other priorities that take precedent over, just hunting. And that's where, like, now it's fun because, like, I have expensive tastes and time and money when it comes to golfing, fishing, hunting. All those things take lots of valuable time away. But, like, that's where for me now I'm excited to kind of pass the torch and start taking Nora out on these adventures. And same thing if Autumn wants to come along, and I would rather, and that's where it's, we'll talk about this in another podcast sometime too, but that's where it's kind of fun with the maturing in, like, your hunting skills and ability too. Like, I know now, like, I don't need to, like, when I was young and dumb trying to figure out how to hunt, and I'm still not an expert hunter by no means, but, like, I'd sit out every day if I could. I would sit out 40, 50 times in a season if I could. And like now I look at it, it's like, all right, well, I'm going to take these 2 weeks out of the year and I'm going to capitalize on these exact dates. Like for our family farm at home, it just didn't work out this last year, but it's like, all right, I'm going to kill my number one buck on the farm. It's either going to be October like 20th, or it's going to be Halloween, or it's going to be the week before gun. And just capitalizing in those core days when you can get down there and go do it. But it's it's been humbling to kind of go through the experience of just used to being in the run wild, and now just kind of reflecting on having
it's just a priority shift. I mean, if your priorities still lie in being out and hunting all the time and spending all your spare time doing that, then that's your priority. But as you get married and you have kids, and your priorities shift and things.
Well, I think that's important. The biggest thing, like you said, though, is having that open window, and this goes for all of you young men out there with girlfriends or fiancés or wives or whatever it is. I mean, just having that open line of communication where you're willing to talk and have those hard talks where if you have to, and going through and talking about stuff, and also getting your honey-do list done, having conversations with your wife of asking what she wants to go do, and prioritizing like, hey, should we go to the apple orchard this weekend? And, kind of not saying putting in your brownie points, but doing your due diligence and time to spend time with your family. That way you can have that open not priority, but that open window for you to go out and kind of do your thing.
For sure.
Like I definitely think like the days of me just kind of going out on a whim are probably few and far between. But like my dad
Wait till they're older. I mean,
yeah,
it's a little, Luke, having toddlers is.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that just
fun
makes
age.
The world. The world is
you never get it back.
Completely different.
Yeah.
To you, like
it's. I mean, I look at like my dad. My dad was a really good example of like he would go out and pheasant hunt. I have vivid memories of I shouldn't say I have vivid memories because when I was that young, but my dad, probably highly illegal now, but he would leave me in my car seat. He'd look at me and say, "You're gonna be okay." And I was probably like one. And he would either go trout fishing for like 30 minutes, or he'd throw me on the shoulders and take me trout fishing. But like otherwise, it would be pheasant hunting where he'd just go walk a quick ditch, and he'd be like, "You're gonna be okay. Just hang tight."
Right.
And then he'd come back with a couple birds or whatever it was, and it was all good. But as we got older, I'm from a family of 4. So we had lots of kids, and my dad was out hunting and fishing every day, and it just transitioned to where he slowly started to sacrifice his time to spend time with us in the outdoors, and that's kind of what it's all about. So like that's where I'm really excited to take less time for myself. I still want to go and do my trips and stuff, and we have a lot of ventures still to go on, but like we're at a fun age now where we can start taking our kids and stuff, and I'm really excited for that because Nora's starting to. Every day we go out and she's starting to fall more and more in love with just being outside and fishing and hunting, and gets me excited.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I think you both of you guys hit on it, but it's just that, and I Autumn, you might have even said it right off the bat too, but I think with any marriage, it's never perfect, right? And anyone who claims that they have a perfect marriage is either lying or hiding something, right? Because it's not perfect. We're human. So, I mean, everyone has their faults or whatever you want to call them, but it's just when you're able to, sit there and talk it out. And, like I said, it's something that everyone works on. It's something that Jen and I work on all the time too, is having that open line of communication and realizing each other's, what each other likes to do, whether it's hobbies or just, taking that time where, that you need a few hours to just get away from the family and have that time for you to just relax and get away for a minute. But.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that ties a little bit into like our faith piece too, to where, I mean, like what God wants us to do is to be out and enjoying his creation, but at the same point in time, just fostering those young minds and getting them involved in the outdoors and, just.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, it almost ties in perfect with what you just said, but Psalm 133 verse 1 talks about how good and pleasant it is when God's people live together in unity. I mean, I can't think of a better little verse to fit in right there, where it's just like, we all have our things that we want to do and we want to be able to do, but it's still reminding ourselves that, what the things that we want sometimes need to not necessarily take the front seat, but the back seat, and realize that, like, when we involve each other, whether it's our wives or husbands and or kids and everything, you just get to, I don't know, you almost get a little bit, get a little bit more out of whatever that experience is, whether it's hunting or fishing
100%.
or camping, because you're doing it together, and then you're able to go home and then sit there and, 6 months to years down the road and be like, God, you remember that time we took the kids camping or went out on that, hunting trip or something. But yeah, it's,
I think I'm most excited. I don't know if I'm more excited to take Nora, because I think now you got to come with this year. If either it's going to be us turkey hunting together, or if it's going to be taking her to the cabin for her first time.
Oh, we're definitely going to the cabin this weekend.
I don't know which one's going to be. I'm more excited for.
Yeah, and something that you always say is, anytime that he goes out, and whether it's golfing or hunting or anything else, and I'm home, just hanging out with Nora, you almost, like, you have a sense of guilt, or like a like you want to make sure I'm doing okay, because you can't have fun if I'm not.
And that's another rabbit hole we could talk about too. I mean, like, I'm sure a lot of other men out there experience the same feeling, hopefully they do, because I feel like it's just kind of, you should feel that way, but like, you do feel guilty when you're away on a trip. And if like, I know if like going to South Dakota for a week or a week and a half, whatever it is, like, if I know there's no peace at home, I am not at peace of where I'm at, because I'm just constantly I'm not living in that moment, and I'm worried about my family. I'm worried about Nora, Autumn. Is everything going okay? Like if I go to Golf Lake, I'll make sure I order a pizza if I remember.
Things usually, can I swear on this podcast? I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Crap hits the fan every time.
Crap? That's your swear word?
Well, I didn't want to say
Wow.
Nor am I listening. No, but it always goes to crap when you're gone.
World just falls
Nora
apart.
just knows how to work, how to just, the dogs know how to just push my buttons. And so every time you're gone, he's like, that actually happened when I was gone. And I'm like, yeah, she did just poop and it got all over, and there's literally drips all over the bathroom that I had to clean up. And like, you just you ran to the store last night, and Nora,
20 minutes.
And he came home, and I was like, what just happened? Like, it always happens that way. And so it's gonna happen when you're gone, and when you get back, I'm just gonna have to go to Target.
there you go.
Yep.
Well, I mean, Autumn, we can't thank you for, obviously taking time out of your busy day to just sit here and talk with us and about all this, and just how important that, and not even just how important, but how appreciative, both Evan and I are of you and Jen, just to be able to, still foster that, those connections that we have, and then being able to not only do it ourselves, but include you guys in on, and our kids. And it's something that's only going to get better with time, right? As far as hunting trips or fishing trips or doing things together as the families, and just it's a cool spot, and when you're starting off a family, to just, you almost just kind of are so excited for the future, right? You're just planning out all these cool things, and so it's gonna be a cool ride. We'll just leave it at that, right?
Yeah, I mean, Jenna and I knew what we were getting into marrying you too, so we knew that there was going to be a lot of hunting. We knew there was going to be a lot of stories.
Yep.
And that's we're just on board for. I guess we're along for the ride.
Along for the ride.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's right.
Well, great. I mean, that was such a good episode. I mean, so many cool little rabbit holes that we went down through, but do you guys, Evan or Autumn, do you guys want to close it out with a quick little prayer before we end here?
All right, guys, go ahead and bow your heads. We'll say a quick prayer.
Dear Lord, we just want to give you thanks for all the opportunities that you give us for our family and our friends, for our kids, and just we pray that you can keep fostering our relationships with you and with the outdoors, and just our connections with one another, and that we can have those open lines of communication, with our wives and with our family, and that we just pray that you keep giving us the opportunity to enjoy all the creation that you have, dear Lord. And we're so thankful for everything that you do. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Well, exciting thing coming up is I think Luke said at the beginning of the podcast, this is a 2-part series. Mm-hmm. So I will be diving in and interviewing Luke and Jenna for part 2.
Absolutely.
So it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, it's going to be good. We're going to drop this one next week, and then we're going to actually have kind of a break in the action and talk, all about Holy Week and Easter. And
that's right.
And then, we'll drop part 2 with Jen and I, and towards the end of March. So crazy.
Exciting.
It's cool.
Luke, thank you.
Thank you.
This was a good one.
Yeah.
Autumn,
great.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Autumn. This is great. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through faith in the great outdoors. We hope today's episode has inspired you to seek God's presence in the wilderness and deepen your connection with nature. If you enjoyed today's discussion, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to the Wild Faith Podcast on your favorite platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. By subscribing, you'll never miss an episode, and you'll continue to be a part of the Wild Faith Podcast community. We'd also love to hear from our listeners, so please don't hesitate to reach out with your questions, comments, or topic suggestions. You can connect with us on social media or through our website. Your feedback is important to us and helps us improve and tailor our content to better serve you. And always remember, the great outdoors isn't just a playground for hunting and fishing. It's a sanctuary for finding solace and spiritual renewal. As you gear up for that next adventure, I pray you find God's presence in the crackling of a campfire, the thrill of reeling in your catch, or the quiet solitude found in nature. Until next time, thank you for listening to the Wild Faith Podcast. Take care, and God bless.